In the summer of 1940, Britain stood alone. Every 24 hours more than 1,000 German aircraft crossed the Channel. For the men in the sky's survival was measured not in days but in minutes. This was the stage for one of the most extraordinary duels in history, the British Supermarine Spitfire against the German Messerschmitt Bf 109. Sleek, fast and deadly, these machines were not just aircraft, they were the very edge between national survival and annihilation. The Spitfire quickly became a legend, remembered for its elegant wings and role as Britain's savior, but the truth was harsher. The Messerschmitt could outclimb and outdive it, and carried heavier cannons that tore fighters apart in seconds. So how did the Spitfire, fragile, outnumbered, often underarmed, become the symbol of victory? The answer lay not in myth, but in the brutal chaos of combat and the courage of the men who flew them. The Battle of Britain was never just a fight of machines, it was a fight for survival carried on the wings of the Spitfire. The year was 1940. Western Europe had fallen in 6 weeks. France, thought to be strongest on the continent, lay crushed. Holland, Belgium, Denmark, Norway, all gone. Britain stood alone across the English Channel, only 20 miles wide at its narrowest. Two worlds stared at each other. Germany prepared Operation Sea Lion, the invasion. Britain clung to survival. The Channel was the lifeline, the sky above the only shield. Germany controlled ports and airfields across northern Europe from which bombers could reach England in minutes. Their task seemed simple: destroy the Royal Air Force, seize control of the skies, clear the path for invasion. But for Britain the stakes could not have been higher. Defeat meant invasion, occupation, even extinction. Every radar station, every meadow turned airstrip, every young pilot barely trained became part of the front line, and in the middle stood the Spitfire, the one fighter able to meet the Messerschmitt head-on. On the German side, Reichsmarschall Hermann Göring commanded a force that had never known defeat. His Jagdflieger veterans of Spain, Poland and France, brimmed with arrogance, told Britain was weak and could be broken in weeks. One last push and the RAF would collapse. Across the Channel, Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding of Fighter Command knew the truth. He had fewer than 600 frontline fighters. Many pilots were boys, barely 20, with little experience. Radar was new, untested, every resource stretched to breaking. Mechanics worked without rest, fuel and ammunition carefully rationed. Mistakes were made. Germany underestimated radar and British resolve. Britain underestimated the sheer scale of the Luftwaffe. Civilians lived under a deceptive calm. Children played beneath skies where formations of bombers gathered unseen. Everyone knew the storm was coming, only the date was unknown. On the morning of July 10, 1940, German bombers crossed the Channel under escort engines. Thundering British radar picked them up. Scramble orders rang out. Spitfire pilots sprinted to their machines. Engines roared to life. The Battle of Britain had begun. At first contact, Britain discovered the reality of modern air war. The skies filled with contrails and gunfire. The terrain and weather often betrayed both sides. Summer skies turned to sudden storms. Clouds swallowed formations. Radar towers directed fighters to intercept, but communication lag and confusion meant many missed their targets. German tactics of flying in tight, disciplined formations clashed with British hit-and-run interceptions. For the RAF, the Hurricanes bore the brunt against bombers, while Spitfires engaged the Messerschmitt's. Small victories gave flashes of hope. A bomber shot down over Kent, a parachute drifting from the sky, crowds cheering in fields below, but the cost was heavy. Every mission meant losses. Pilots failed to return. Families waited in silence, empty chairs at dinner tables. The Germans believed each raid would crack the RAF, but the defenders returned again and again. London and southern airfields reeled, yet still the radar screens lit up with fresh squadrons climbing to meet the enemy. The sense grew that the real trial had not yet begun. Then came August, known to the Luftwaffe as Adlerangriff, the Eagle attack. Göring launched massive raids against airfields and radar stations. The climax approached skies over Dover, Portsmouth, and the Thames roared with the fury of thousands of engines. Machine guns rattled, cannon shells tore wings apart, black smoke spiraled down. In those days the battle reached its most desperate. Spitfire squadrons scrambled 3, 4, 5 times a day. Exhausted pilots sat drenched in sweat, faces black with oil, some so tired they fell asleep in cockpits. Between sorties they flew in pairs, using tight turns to outmatch Messerschmitt dives, their 8-wing mounted Browning machine guns spitting streams of fire, tracer rounds flashing red across the blue sky. The Messerschmitts held deadly advantages. They climbed faster, dove sharper. Their cannon shells could shred a Spitfire in a heartbeat, but they carried limited fuel from French bases, giving only minutes over Britain. Many pilots forced to break off combat or risk crashing into the Channel. The RAF seized that weakness, hounding them as they turned for home. Chaos ruled the sky. Engines screamed, wings tore apart, bodies fell through clouds. The smell of burned fuel and cordite filled cockpits. Radios crackled with half-broken voices and sudden silence. When a friend was gone, yet amidst the horror bravery shone. Pilots pressed attacks through walls of tracer, ignored flames licking their wings, fought even when ammunition was gone, ramming or diving to scatter bombers. Both sides bled heavily. Dozens of aircraft fell in single days. Pilots perished unknown, others drifted in parachutes or into the sea. The turning point came when the Luftwaffe shifted to bombing London, diverting pressure from airfields. The RAF seized the respite, repaired runways, regrouped pilots. Britain clung on By September 15th, mass raids reached London Spitfires and Hurricanes rose in waves the sky, a vast battlefield of fire and smoke. By the end of that day, it was clear the Luftwaffe could not break the RAF. Hitler postponed Operation Sea Lion. The invasion was cancelled. The aftermath revealed staggering cost: more than 1,500 German aircraft destroyed, more than 1,000 RAF fighters lost, thousands of aircrew dead or captured, southern England scarred with craters and wreckage, radar masts bent and twisted, but still standing. Many British pilots never returned, their names carved forever in memorial walls, yet their sacrifice held back invasion and saved their nation. In the months after the battle, the war did not end. The Blitz began. German bombers turned to nightly raids on London and other cities. Firestorms raged, but the outcome was decided: the Luftwaffe had failed to gain the skies. The legacy of the Spitfire and the battle itself endured long after the smoke cleared. Tactically, it proved radar, integrated air defense, and fast interceptors could stop even the mightiest air armada. Strategically, it denied Hitler the chance to invade Britain and force Germany into a longer war. Culturally, it became legend. Churchill called them the few, the young men whose valor held the line against tyranny. History remembers the Spitfire as more than a machine. It was defiance given wings. Every roar of its Merlin engine carried hope across a battered island. In the darkest hour, it turned the tide. And so when we look back, the lesson remains clear: machines mattered, strategy mattered, but in the end it was the courage of those who flew into the storm against all odds that decided the fate of nations. The sound of the Spitfire echoing across the sky remains a haunting reminder of how close the world came to darkness and how fragile victory truly was.